Discrimination, racism, bias. We see these things in our world, in our country, in our community. A group of Harford County Public School students decided to use their experiences with discrimination, racism, and bias as a way to open the doors to discussion and lay the foundation for a better, more equitable world.
Voices of Equity is a movement. It's not a club. It's not your typical school-wide organization. It's something bigger than that.
It's Voices of Equity. So we all talk and we try to work towards common goals, and what every single person says is important.
There needs to be conversations occurring so that every party can feel like they're represented and so that every party can feel like they understand the other.
The only way that Voices of Equity works is by the people that we're talking to opening their minds and ears and listening.
A lot of the racism or discrimination or bias that I've experienced has been in the form of microaggressions. So it's not exactly blatant racism or slurs, it's more so assumptions that people make or snide remarks people say.
Oh, that's gay, or oh, homo, right? Or do you have a crush on me?
Oh, you talk so white.
Oh, you're a girl, you're gay.
Oh, do you even know how it is to be black?
To feel like you are not going to fit into a certain group, or that somebody looks down on you for something that you can't control.
The first thing it did was make me feel ashamed for who I was and who I am.
There's this feeling of being almost like an out-of-body experience of being something but being told that you're not.
I was like any kid would be when they're teased and bullied repeatedly. I would cry, I was hurt by it.
Feeling stunted, as feeling like you maybe don't belong in a certain situation with a certain group of people.
And when you deal with it for so long, you have to learn to not let it bother you, or else you'll go crazy.
It kind of dulled my confidence because it made me feel out of place or unwanted in an area.
And you're starting almost to feel like less of a person.
When I joined Voices of Equity, I understood that there was going to be a lot of resistance.
I think when it comes to discrimination and bias and racism in a community, it shows a very us versus them mentality.
People may not want change because they feel like they may be the target of said change, and that scares them.
Of course, all humans have fear of the unknown, but when it gets to that level where you're scared of people who don't look like you or don't speak like you or aren't from the same place as you, it shows that you're very scared of learning new things, and maybe you're insecure with yourself and you're not really sure, if I was exposed to an area or people who were different than me, would I lose who I am?
Human nature is to want to be comfortable, but societies don't change that way.
And I think that it's important when you have conversations about backlash or conversations to somebody that is resistant to an idea that you may hold, that you convey to that person that it's okay to have a separate idea.
We need to understand that we need to treat those people who may oppose us with the same level of respect as we would want to be treated ourselves.
Or that everyone offers a new perspective, and that when we put all of them together, we can figure out what we really need to do to make society better.
We need to listen to every single person's story, everything that they have to say, everything that they feel equally, and then we'll spark change.
How do we move forward? And how do these conversations start?
You have friends, friends are people that like to test your boundaries, push your buttons. And sometimes you have to take them aside and you have to say, hey, I understand that you were just trying to make a joke, but that did hurt.
Sometimes you just have to reach out and just have a conversation with one person. That one person can then reach out to another person. There's strength in numbers.
We need to talk about, first of all, why we're not able to talk about things, but second of all, why people have head starts in life, why people seem to be left behind.
I think the hardest conversation people really have to have isn't with another person, it's with the mirror. I think that when an entire community is engulfed in this system and they necessarily aren't affected by it, it puts blinders on. And it takes some courageous conversation to take the blinders off and really have an interesting conversation and some dialogue about how this is affecting other people and how do we move forward.
Equity is making sure that everybody is given not the same thing, but given what they need to be able to reach the same level as those around them.
I think equity is when you look at a certain population or a group of people that are similar in some ways and dissimilar in even more ways, everyone is given the same opportunity to succeed.
We need to be able to look at, a group of people and say, although they may not be me, they are entitled to everything that I'm entitled to because they are people.
I think that things like respect and equity, they show a community that is confident in itself and its own nature and can give to others.
I guess we need to repave society in a fashion that doesn't define strong and weak as whether or not we're willing to abandon our beliefs. Because I don't think it's abandoning them, I think it's being able to change, right? Change is powerful. Change is a strength.
My voice is important, my voice matters because I'm a student, because I'm the one affected by what happens within the school. I'm the one affected by other students. I'm the one affected by teachers. I'm the one that's affected by staff.
Every generation changes the world differently. And I think my voice is important right now because this is the time that we are changing the world and molding the world into what we want to birth our kids into or marry someone in or get a job in.
Well, students are the largest group of stakeholders within any public school system, or any school system, period. So if we're not listening to our biggest stakeholders, what are we doing?
You can't have a school system that speaks about making sure that they raise their students to take on the world and doesn't raise their students to be able to take on each other, doesn't raise their students to be able to take on the problems that face them in the moment.
Voices of Equity works by having students from every school, every level of education, whether it be elementary, middle, or high school, collaborate in a discussion with their own schools to eventually create something that's more countywide.
Well, I know the Voice of Equity has gone beyond the school system just by things that, I've done, like going home and telling my parents something I learned or something I talked about and sharing that knowledge.
So at the end of the day, Voices of Equity is primarily school focused. It's something that, is built upon the school system. But everyone that joins Voices of Equity, their views aren't just tied to school. We're all fully fleshed out individuals with, ideas and opinions and about everything. So we take, the conversations we have at Voices of Equity with us into other places in our life.
That's what Voice of Equity can do in the community. It goes outside of the group and these ideas and, they spread.
This is something that started in one school and has now moved into multiple schools and hopefully, eventually, the entire school system. This is giving students a voice in their education, in their school systems, in their school communities that changes the culture of that school for the better.